I want to discuss about the post-structural theories, and today I want to discuss about Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche, German philosopher. Was a German philosopher, cultural critic and philologist whose work has exerted a profound influence on modern intellectual history. He began his career as a classical philologist before turning to philosophy. He became the youngest person ever to hold the chair of classical philology at the University of Basel in 1869. At the age of 24, Nietzsche resigned in 1879 due to health problems that plagued him most of his life. He completed much of his core writing in the following decade. In 1889, at the age 45, he suffered a collapse and afterward a complete loss of his mental faculties. He lived his remaining years in the care of his mother until her death in 1897, and then with his sister Elisabeth Förster-Nietzsche. Nietzsche died in. If we discuss about his notable ideas are amor fati, Apollonian and Dionysian, eternal return, fact-value distinction, genealogy, God is dead, herd instinct, last man, master-slave morality, Nietzschean affirmation, nihilism, perspectivism, ressentiment, transvaluation of values, Tschandala, Übermensch, will to power. If we discuss about his notable works are The Birth of Tragedy in 1872, On Truth and Lies in Non-Moral Sense 1873, Philosophy in the Tragic Age of Greeks 1873, first published in 1923, Ultimately Meditations 1876, Human All Too Human 1878, The Dawn 1881, The Gay Science 1882, Thus Spoke Zarathustra 1883, Beyond Good and Evil 1886, On the Genealogy of Morality 1887, The Case of Wagner 1888, Twilight of Idols 1888, The Antichrist 1888, Ecce Homo 1888, first published in 1908, Nietzsche contra Wagner 1888, The Will to Power, various unpublished manuscripts edited by his sister Elizabeth, not recognized as a unified work after a ca 1960. Now, if we discuss about his philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, because of Nietzsche's evocative style and provocative ideas, his philosophy generates passionate reaction. His works remain controversial due to varying interpretations and misinterpretations. In Western philosophy, Nietzsche's writings have been described as a case of free revolutionary thought that is revolutionary in its structure and problems. Although not tied to any revolutionary project, his writings have also been described as a revolutionary project in which his philosophy serves as the foundation of a European cultural rebirth. First of all, we discuss about his most famous theory is Apollonian. Theory means important concept, Apollonian and Dionysian. Apollonian and Dionysian is a twofold philosophical concept based on features of ancient Greek mythology, Apollo and Dionysius. This relationship takes the form of a dialectic, even though the concept is famously related to the birth of tragedy. The poet Hölderlin had already spoken of it, and man had talked to Bacchus. Nietzsche found in classical Athenian tragedy an art form that transcended the pessimism found in so-called wisdom of silence. The Greek spectators, by looking into the abyss of human suffering depicted by characters on stage, passionately and joyously affirmed life, finding it worth living. The main theme in the birth of tragedy is that fusion of Dionysian and Apollonian contestable artistic impulses, forms dramatic arts or tragedies. He argued that this fusion has not been achieved since the ancient Greek tragedians. Apollo represents harmony, progress, clarity, logic, and the principle of individuation, whereas Dionysius represents disorder, intoxication, emotion, ecstasy, and unity. Hence, the omission of principle of individuation. Nietzsche used these two forces because for him the world too of mind and order on one side and passion and chaos on the other formed principles that were fundamental to the Greek culture. The Apollonian, a dreaming state full of illusions, and Dionysian, a state of intoxication, representing the liberation of instinct and dissolution of boundaries. In this mold, a man appears as the satire, and he is the horror of annihilation of the principle of individuality, and at the same time, someone who delights in its destruction. Both of these principles are meant to represent cognitive states that appear through art as the power of nature in man. If we discussed about his second concept is related to perspectivism. Perspectivism is Nietzsche's claimed the death of God would eventually lead to the loss of any universal perspective on things and any coherent sense of objective truth. Nietzsche rejected the idea of objective reality, arguing that knowledge is contingent and conditional relative to various fluid perspectives or interests. This leads to constant reassessment of rules, those of philosophy, the scientific method, etc., according to the circumstances of individual perspectives. This view has required the name perspectivism. In also sparked Zarathustra, Nietzsche proclaimed that a table of values hangs above every great person. He pointed out that what is common among different peoples is the act of esteeming, of creating values, even if the values are different from one person to the next. Nietzsche asserted that what made people great was not the content of their beliefs, but the act of valuing. Thus, the values a community strives to articulate are not important as the collective will, essential than the merit of goal itself. According to Nietzsche, 1,000 goals have there been so far, says the Zarathustra, for there are 1,000 peoples. Only the yoke for the 1,000th snake is still lacking. The one goal is lacking, humanity still has no goal. Hence, the title of aphorism on the 1,001 goal, the idea that one value system is no more worthy than the next, although it may not be directly ascribed to Nietzsche, has become a common premise in modern social science. Max Weber and Martin Heidegger absorbed it and made it their own. It shaped their philosophical and cultural endeavors as well as their political understanding. Weber, for example, relied on the Nietzsche's perspectivism by maintaining that objectivity is still possible but only after a particular perspective's value or and has been established. Among his critical traditional philosophy of Kant, Descartes, and Plato in Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche attacked the thing in itself and cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am, as unfalsifiable beliefs based on naive acceptance of previous notions and fallacies. Philosopher Elisabeth McIntyre put Nietzsche in a high place in history of philosophy, while criticizing nihilism and Nietzsche together as a sign of general decay. He still commended him for recognizing psychological motives behind Kant and Hume's moral philosophy. For it, Nietzsche's historic achievement to understand more clearly than any other philosopher not only that what purported to be appeals of objectivity were in fact expressions of subjectivity will, but also the nature of problems that this posed for philosophy. In another video, I will discuss about his another theories. So, thank you.